Hey everyone. Yeah, my name is Kalyna Miletic and I'm a professional certified coach and I focused in on leadership and career coaching. And so I actually found out about the Business Insider article nomination from a fellow Erickson team member. And so I distributed that to fellow coaches and clients and my team. And some of them nominated me for the award because of the different innovations and novel ways that I've been approaching both career coaching and leadership coaching during the pandemic and overall. So Business Insider put this out to a global group of coaches, and very gratefully, they were excited about what I've been up to during the pandemic to really support both people that have been laid off, made redundant, are trying to find the same job in a different company, or are looking to switch entirely. So we've done some really cool stuff at Chiefly and Kickstart to support individuals going through career change during the pandemic. And that's why they were excited to nominate me. So very excited to chat more about what those innovations and what those novelties are. For me, I was doing digital strategy online and really got a great experience into remote work in 2010. I was actually still in university at the time and started my first business in digital strategy. And what I recognized was that the people element in most companies that I was working with fascinated me. I wanted to understand why individuals were in jobs they severely disliked for menial compensation. I wanted to understand why some people were super motivated with low compensation while others were moving up the ranks and they were still unengaged. I just wanted to understand the people element. And so I started doing research online. I found Erickson and resonated with coaching both because of the solution focused approach and also the real specificity Erickson has toward values and figuring out what's important to you and then putting that into action. So I decided to go along my coaching training with Erickson and then got certified with the ICF in 2016 for my PCC, so my professional certified coach designation. And that was really the sort of gold standard or stamp of approval in the industry to give me both the credibility from a training perspective from Erickson, which is obviously a notable school, and then from the ICF to give not only the theoretical knowledge, but also show that I had the experience and the expertise from that experience. It's a really good question, trying to get into the heads of others. I think for me, growing up actually with my father in the automotive industry and seeing his approach to customer service, he is absolutely 100% for the client and what the client needs. And actually it starts from there. I was 4 years old helping him out, answering phones, and being in a very customer centric environment from a young age. And so I bring that into my coaching. So I think every individual that I've worked with, whether they are on my team as a coach or if they're being coached by me directly, the feedback I get time and time again is just that I go above and beyond to suit their needs. And so when I think of innovation, what innovation means is it's actually looking at gaps in either markets or with specific individuals, seeing gaps that are unaddressed and finding a way to address those specific problems. That to me is what innovation is looking at how things are right now and then finding a way to improve that for either, again, the individual or the company at large. And so I think what I hear most often from clients and peers, other coaches that are on the roster at Chiefly, is that we really do go above and beyond for the client. And I think that's what allows me to innovate consistently, is because I'm actively listening to their specific needs and adapting to them. So in trends, I would say I see organizational trends and then I see individual trends. So of course, on the individual level, lots of people are being laid off. Unemployment and being challenged by not having enough wages right now or being made redundant is a huge issue. One of the highest search terms in Google at the moment from my research. it's a huge issue. It's a huge trend and issue right now, clearly, with lots of service workers or people in airlines, hospitalities being laid off and really not being sure what to do next when they've dedicated years of their lives to a certain profession that's been made redundant kind of overnight. So certainly a trend, right, during the pandemic is that people are needing to upskill or reskill, change what they're doing. I have friends and clients that have gone from hospitality into hospitals and are doing healthcare administration now. I'm seeing people overall being very, very innovative themselves, actually, and saying, hey, how can I transfer this skill over from this industry to something that's needed right now? So seeing that from sort of skilled workers and laborers, definitely. In the corporate space, I think individuals are also being called to reskill, upskill, especially with technology. So a huge trend is that I'm grateful that I've been working online in this environment really since 2010. But many people, it's the first time that they're not going into an office every day. So of course, right, the environment has shifted, and that trend has brought with it a real need to upskill in technology capabilities for individuals. And then corporations are of course affected, because corporations, organizations are just a group of individuals. So tech trends, so needing to adapt either new tech stacks or new ways of communicating, engaging with teams. A lot of challenges in remote leadership and engaging people when they're all now dispersed and working from home, of course. And then in dealing with challenges, I mean, how do you go if you have a team of 25 people that you manage, and then 15 of them get laid off overnight? I mean, leadership challenges there for sure. And how do I make people feel safe that are still here? How do I gracefully support the people that are leaving? And I'm seeing a lot of great support online, actually, on LinkedIn, where individuals will really pitch in and say, hey, we're laying off this group of people, but they're amazing people, hire them, and really kind of putting them into the spotlight and giving them an opportunity. So some very cool positives right now as trends around reskilling, people getting very innovative about how they can use past experience in new environments and situations. And then organizations as well, getting very, very creative, whether they're pivoting their manufacturing plant to produce medical supplies, or if they're supporting the people that they need to lay off by, like I said, promoting them to other related companies that are hiring. So at a time where I know a lot of people feel lonely and a lot of people feel divided, and there's a lot of turmoil and uncertainty, I think it's actually been beautiful to see the trend of smaller communities and organizations banding together to really support the individual. From a day-to-day, it hasn't changed so much in terms of my environment or the infrastructure of how I'm coaching. So again, very lucky that as a coach, huge opportunity to coach anyone. I've had clients in 21 countries around the world. So it's like, I can get on a call. I can be in Switzerland here. You can be in Vancouver or wherever you are. So in the way I coach day to day from a tangible perspective, not so much has changed. But what I can say for sure in the methodology is there's been a true focus on quick wins and identifying very clearly where someone is at and where they want to be. So of course that's a point A to point B is really the, I guess, foundation of what you could say coaching is. You show up to a coach somewhere in your career or whatever they're coaching you on, and you identify this vision, this point B of where you want to be, right? And then you, alongside your coach supporting you, come up with, okay, how can I bridge the gap between where I am and where I want to go? And so I would say right now, because people where they are right now is a complete departure from what they're used to, are really gravitating toward, okay, I need to figure out my next steps. I need to figure out next steps that are sort of recession proof or pandemic proof, or ways that I can not only develop my career within an organizational hierarchy, but even more push. It's already prevalent in the market, but even more push towards side hustles, multiple revenue streams. This is not something that's just pandemic worthy or just that came up from the pandemic, but definitely seen a huge push to people saying, yeah, I can still work part-time, but I want to freelance on the side. I want to give Upwork a try. I want to give consulting a try. So rather than, I think, a couple years ago where people were still in a linear sort of, okay, I'm in this company, this is my kind of career path, I'm going to move up the ranks. That was already shifting and evolving, but the pandemic has just exploded possibilities for a far greater number of people to say, you know what, this corporate thing can be made redundant tomorrow. I need to have a backup plan and I need to have multiple options at once. And so I'm seeing the majority now being willing to look into, okay, my ideal career is actually multiple things and not just me depending on one organization. So the way I coach has had to change in that we're not doing linear point A to point B. Okay, I'm an accountant and now I want to become a partner at an accounting firm, and we can kind of plot that out very linearly. Now it's sort of like, okay, you're an accountant and you want to be a partner, but you also want to lead a charity and you also want to consult on the side. And actually, you've always had this fascination to have an Etsy store. And so, you're having these multiple things. And so people are sort of becoming a little bit more like the CEO of their lives in terms of having multiple engagements. And so what's cool about that is that I'm finding even individual coaching moving more toward leadership coaching, more toward what I would normally be doing with executives, which is managing multiple priorities, multiple projects, and multiple key stakeholders. It depends. It depends is the short answer on what that point B is that I just mentioned. So with Chiefly, which is more of an organizational coaching vehicle, the company that I've started in the US, with Chiefly, an organization comes to us because an organization sees a trend across a group of individuals and they want to develop their people in a certain capacity. And so our approach really focuses on objectives and key results and how we can take a group of individuals through a process to close the gaps in their leadership and develop competencies. So during the pandemic, why does a company come to a coach or career coach, leadership coach? I would say is because they're noticing that although they're doing a lot of layoffs, the people that they're keeping on board, they need to motivate them, they need to support them. And it's a lot for a manager to handle or a director of a company to handle, to support emotionally, to support in next steps. So companies are doing it to foster a sense of good faith and support attainment of really people objectives within the organization on a one-on-one individualized level. Why does an individual come to a career coach? Often they've been made redundant from a career that they thought that they could kind of stay in forever. I've had people that were in corporate, also in the trades, that come and say, look, I really just never predicted this. I don't have any other certifications. What do I do? And so they're looking for a supportive ear and a safe space to map out what could be possible and what could be next with someone that's really objectively there to support them in mapping that out very structurally. So rather than sitting around with their friends just complaining about the situation, I'm finding that people are looking for solutions. They want to figure out answers and next steps, and that's what brings them to a career coach to help them solidify and define what those next steps are. It's a really good question, and I ask myself that every day. I think the biggest thing is to remember that an organization is a group of individuals. Your team is a group of individuals. We're all people. And so while a leader oftentimes has to make very challenging decisions that are not often favorable, I mean, if you have to lay people off, or if you have to make pay cuts, or if you have to take people off of projects, I mean, they're tough decisions that leaders need to make. And so I think remembering, first of all, that the leader themselves is a person. So a little bit of empathy on both sides here, remembering that the person that's trying to lead you is also probably dealing with things at home, maybe kids at home, or multiple competing priorities. They have to make tough decisions. So empathy is one thing, remembering that people are individuals. And so we're dealing with people, right? To kind of keep that in the forefront, I think is really important, because if we remember that the person on the other side of the unemployment, the person on the other side of the layoff is indeed somebody that you worked with for a long time and that you care for or have a relationship with, I think it allows leaders to navigate with a bit more ease, in the sense of, okay, what you can ask yourself questions like, what would I want a manager or leader to do in this scenario if I was on the other side of the table? How can I give myself and this other person a little bit of a break, considering that things are really challenging right now? Maybe the company is actually growing at hyper speed because of the pandemic. There are a lot of companies, we talk a lot about the companies that are shrinking, but there are a ton of companies that are exploding right now. And so there's huge pressure in growing tech companies at the moment to perform and deliver and quickly adapt and iterate to create solutions to problems that are popping up in the pandemic. So I think being a bit nicer to ourselves and others, and that can seem like a fluffy answer, but when I say that, I mean, again, really asking yourself, is what I'm asking realistic? How can I put myself in this other person's shoes? And overall, remembering that you're dealing with people. I had to make a really tough call the other day about a project and some payments, and it was an unfavorable call. And as a team lead myself, sometimes it's really challenging to say no, or we can't right now, or it's not going to work. And I think that the best tip there is to, again, be empathetic towards yourself, the other person at the other side of the table, and how you're communicating to them. And then thirdly, I would say individualizing your approach. So if you have a certain type of news and you need to communicate it to the whole team, that's great. But within your team, everybody's dealing with, first of all, different personal issues, but then they're going to respond to that type of news differently. People respond to change and new scenarios really differently. And so as a leader, being sensitive to what different people need, I think is going to be a huge asset. And all of the things I've just said fall under emotional intelligence right now. So it's not, of course, you need to deliver as a leader, but I think what's going to set apart the good leaders from the great leaders is really the leaders that are able to bring in the emotional intelligence at this point and show humanity while also bringing forward business objectives. Overall, what's really important to remember is that at any point of change or shift that has been as stark as it is right now, it's very easy to find fault in the situation. And my biggest wish for anybody watching would be to really remember that there are always opportunities, always in the face of adversity. And so if you're going through a layoff, if you're going through a redundancy, or you're just waiting for perhaps you're just temporarily off until the company brings you back, whatever your career situation is at the moment, I would really encourage you, whether it's continued learning or in a structured environment or a schooling type of environment, or if it's just reading more, something you've always wanted to read, or a side project of some sort, now is definitely a time of opportunity to upskill and up-level and position yourself for wherever you want to be in the next 5 years. So I would just really, I think, use this as an opportunity to share that although it's a very challenging time for many in the realm of work, with any challenge, there's always opportunity. And so I would ask you to examine where the opportunities are right now in your situation. So with all of the opportunity and changes that are happening now, I'm very honored to have received the nomination and award of Business Insider's Most Innovative Career Coach of the Year, and an amazing company with other career coaches that are truly innovating in the space and supporting many in one of the most challenging job markets of the most recent past, at least. And so I just want to thank Business Insider very much. Thank Erickson so much for both incredible training and also supporting my career evolution throughout my career as a coach. And thank you so much for watching this and joining us. And please feel free to reach out to myself personally, or of course, Erickson, if you have any questions about what career coaching is further, or if you want to be a career coach, to chat more about how you might approach doing that in your world as an opportunity for your next career step.